You're standing right in front of them, asking a simple question, but the child doesn't even flinch. They are completely locked into the screen, rendering your voice into mere background noise. Most parents see this as a behavioral crisis. They interpret the silence as defiance and immediately attack the symptom by raising their voice or demanding immediate eye contact. However, industrial age tactics, like demanding obedience because I said so, rarely work on children raised in the information age. Their world is built on reasoning and relevance, not blind authority. To understand why a child ignores you, we have to trace their actions backward, moving past the screen and into the psychological chain that dictates their choices. Parents who struggle with these battles are often attempting to prune the leaves of a problem that is actually growing from the roots. Previous generations were shaped by physical environments. Their social baseline was built on unstructured play, neighborhood boundaries, and tangible face-to-face community. Even early technology reinforced the family unit. Screens were centralized hubs where everyone experienced the same story at the same time. Modern childhood has shifted into total digital immersion. Gen Z and Gen Alpha exist in isolated ecosystems, receiving a constant stream of stimulation tailored specifically for them, even when they're sitting in a room full of people. These children aren't intentionally rude. They are simply the first humans whose native operating system is built on a foundation of continuous, algorithmic stimulation. This diagram reveals the hidden psychological sequence driving every action your child takes. It starts with attention at the bottom, which feeds into emotion, which builds identity, and finally results in behavior. Behavior, like ignoring a parent, is just the final expression. It is the visible fruit that naturally grows when all the layers beneath it are in place. That behavior is driven by identity. If a child's sense of self is tied to their status in a gaming community or their digital social circle, they will act in ways that prioritize those worlds over the physical one. Identity is built from repeated emotion. When a child feels a consistent surge of validation or excitement from a screen, their brain interprets those feelings as a sign of where they truly belong. Every one of those emotions starts with attention. Where the mind spends its time, the brain builds its pathways. Because of this chain, yelling at a child's behavior is ineffective. If the algorithm still owns their attention and their identity, the behavior will simply repeat to stay consistent with that root. This visualization shows the dopamine spikes that capture a child's focus. Algorithms provide constant, effortless dopamine through novelty and instant rewards, creating a high stimulation baseline that makes the real world feel painfully slow. When a parent interrupts this loop with an angry command, the brain experiences a sudden drop in dopamine and a sharp spike in cortisol, the stress chemical. This cortisol spike activates the survival brain, which prioritizes safety and defense over logic. In that moment, the child's ability to reason or cooperate effectively shuts down. The child's brain interprets your discipline as a stressful threat to their emotional stability, triggering an instinctual fight or flight response. Most parents don't realize they are competing against billion-dollar server farms. These companies employ thousands of engineers whose job is to monopolize your child's focus. Technology operates on a simple premise. If you can control where a person looks, you can eventually dictate how they act. By the time a parent starts yelling about screen time, they are fighting an identity that has been meticulously shaped by an algorithm for months or years. The algorithm wins the battle for behavior because it secured the war for attention long ago. You cannot outstimulate an algorithm. No parent can be louder or more exciting than the endless novelty of a high-speed digital feed. As this chart shows, the jagged stress of cortisol is neutralized by oxytocin, the connection chemical. This is the only biological force capable of smoothing out the chemical chaos of screen withdrawal. In an age of digital noise, undivided emotional connection creates a biological pull that rigid authority cannot match. Children naturally cooperate with those they feel securely attached to. The first step is to break the dopamine loop by creating physical boundaries. Establishing screen zones, like keeping devices entirely out of the bedroom, restores a sense of calm to the environment. Then, use a 15-minute protocol of undivided attention to reclaim their focus. This is your primary weapon for winning back the root of the chain. For those 15 minutes, there are no screens, no lectures, and no corrections. You are simply there to observe and listen without judgment. This consistent attention generates oxytocin, which gradually shifts the child's internal identity. They begin to see themselves not as a digital consumer, but as a valued member of a family. By focusing on the roots of attention and connection, you stop fighting the fruit of bad behavior and foster a state of resilient, independent cooperation.